Hello everybody and welcome to Sports Talk. This is Sam Darley. Today I'm going to break down the draft needs of the New York Giants in the NFC East. What did the Giants need? Well, after a pretty rocky 2014, they missed the playoffs yet again. I believe the record was 7-9. Eli Manning is 35 years old, if I remember correctly. And Tom Coughlin got a 1-year extension. They're the most intriguing team in this division because while they have the pieces to be a playoff caliber team, I don't think they're that. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't. Sorry, Giant fans. I think the reality is Tom Coughlin has lost his team. I think he's gotten too old. I mean, he's been a great coach in this league. He's won 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants against the New England Patriots. But even coaches can lose their touch. And I think Coughlin's lost his. Excuse me. Do I think the Giants will be in the hunt for the playoffs next year? Yeah. If they're healthy and if Eli cannot have a 5-interception game, or not be so inconsistent at least, they'll be fine. Eli is in the last year of his contract, so this brings up the question of what do they need in the draft? Well, defense, mainly secondary help. They didn't do much in free agency. They added Shane Vereen. I don't think he's an every down back. But as far as defense is concerned, excuse me, I don't think they've addressed enough on the defensive side of the ball. So I could see them going linebacker or maybe defensive end. Maybe safety, maybe corner. They do need secondary help, so I don't know if they'll address that in like the first 3 rounds. Offensively, they need offensive line. They need to give Eli more time in the pocket. And they really need a go-to back. You know, the Steelers have Le'Veon Bell. They have Eddie Lacy of the Packers. Charles, the Chiefs, the Texans, and Foster. Those are all teams. Those are all playoff caliber teams that have every down backs, and the Giants don't have that. So they could go running back in this draft, and they should go running back in this draft. I haven't gone into full detail of every running back in the league. I know I've missed a couple of other top running backs. My point is to take the pressure off Eli and not have him throwing it 40, 50 times a game and turning the ball over at a high rate. You gotta have a running game, and they don't have that. Although my Texans got a good taste of their non-running game last year, where they pounded us, for the Texans in Week 3. Oh, that was before the Texans got their act together on the run defense. So, not to take anything away from the Giants, but that was just one game. They didn't get enough production from their running backs. So I could see them going and getting maybe excuse me, just maybe they'll address that position in the draft, and they should. But going back to Coughlin, I think he's lost his team. I think he's lost his touch as a coach. When they haven't made it to the Super Bowl and won it, they've missed the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years. But because he's beat the New England Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, that's why he's essentially kept his job. I don't see that happening. I think they need a fresh face. They need somebody new at the head coaching position. And yes, that's a position. They need somebody fresh. They need a new face, a new voice. And then they need to address the quarterback situation. I mean, Eli's not going to be the quarterback forever, even though he says he will be. You still got to address the backup position. Ryan Nassib is not good enough. So maybe they'll go get a backup quarterback in this draft. Maybe Blake Sims. Maybe if you fall to them, Garrett Grayson. But they need to think about a backup quarterback in this draft. Dire needs, I would say, offensive line and wide receiver. Giant fans cannot keep living in the past of Victor Cruz. Had a very bad injury. He's in his mid-30s. He's a wide receiver. That doesn't bode well. So they'll need another wide receiver to complement Odell Beckham. Maybe tight end. Maybe. But dire needs wide receiver and offensive line. Secondary dire needs, I would say, I would definitely go with the secondary. I would definitely, I'd probably think about pass rusher too. Excuse me. And maybe somehow they get lucky in this draft. Maybe they'll have a shot at Shane Ray. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a shot. Maybe Randy Gregory. Maybe they'll take a chance on him. They need to address their defense. Jason Pierre-Paul is not a superstar. He's not a premier pass rusher. He had one good season and that's it. So they'll need to address their pass rushers. They'll need to address their offensive line. And I think they're the second best team in that division behind the Dallas Cowboys. I think when I look at their roster and I think about their team, they could be a good team. They could make the playoffs this year. I don't see it happening. I think, like I said, Coughlin has lost the team. And they need a new face. They need a new leader. And Giants ownership doesn't understand when it's essentially time to move on from a head coach. And I know first-hand experience being a Texan fan, seeing how long the Texans stuck with Kubiak. There comes a time when ownership has to admit their coach has lost the team, or the team is not buying into what the coach wants them to do anymore. So that I think head coach is a need for the Giants. Quarterback's not a dire need, but they need a backup plan. Like I said, Eli's in the last year of his deal. Should they extend him? I'm going to say no. I think 34, 35 years old. Yeah, they won 2 Super Bowls. He had a good season last year, but he's just too inconsistent. And you got to keep asking the question, can he lead them back? Can he get them back into the playoffs? He's essentially the Joe Flacco of the NFC. He's pretty average in the regular season, but when you get him in the playoffs, he's money. But yeah, their draft needs, I would definitely say offense, wide receiver, and offensive line, and running back. That's a pretty dire need for the New York Giants when I think about it. Yeah, they'll need a running back. They'll need secondary help, and they'll need pass rusher help. And they could use some depth at the linebacker position. Other than that, they'll be the second best team in their division. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. This has been Sports Talk with Sam Darley. Thanks for watching.